Hello and welcome back. You find me pulling out my posh clothes ready for our next cruise. It's terribly exciting. We're going on our first ever Cunard cruise. I'm really looking forward to that. Also, it's very exciting because it's Queen Mary's first outing since the resumption of cruising. And also, we've got our friends Catherine and Anne coming with us, which is also very exciting. So if you want to see what we get up to, come along with us and enjoy the cruise as well.
Unfortunately, due to the new variant of COVID, Omicron, this was not to be. Due to the government's new rules on PCR testing and isolation, Catherine was unable to join us, and it was heartbreaking to leave her behind. So despite not really knowing what we were going to do regarding PCR testing and new PLF forms, we continued and set off on our way. So with a slightly heavy heart, we picked up our friend Anne and set off for Southampton. And that's where the disaster began.
We thought it was missing. There was something missing. But there you are. Hello.
Hello, cruise day.
Cruise day, a bittersweet cruise day.
Oh, I know.
So whereabouts are we, Ken?
Well, we're travelling down on the A303 on our way down to Southampton to hopefully get on to Queen Mary 2 for the first time ever for a short cruise, which I've been looking forward to for over 2.5 years. But yeah, it's a bit unknown at the moment what we're going into, with changes due to the bad weather over the weekend, and also due to the recent yesterday introduction of the government of this 2-day PCR, which we're all trying to work our heads around and find out how that's going to work, and the new PLFs we have to do and the isolation when we get home. But yeah, but looking forward to it all the same and can't wait to get on.
And this time we got a little visitor in the back. Can we see the little hello? Hello, you're back with us again.
It was such a good time the last 2 times. I wonder if I shall buy a teddy bear this time.
Oh,
It's like having a stowaway in the back of the car, isn't it?
We'd received an email from Cunard telling us that we needed to go to the city terminal where we would have our COVID testing and embarkation. This was due to the fact that Iona had been delayed a day at sea and would be occupying the ocean terminal. So we arrived at around about 2 p.m. and our arrival time was 2:15.
Now turn right.
When we arrived at the city terminal, we were greeted by a gentleman who told us that we had to turn around and go to the Mayflower terminal for our COVID testing. When we said to him we'd actually had an email from Cunard to say other than that, he told us no, we had to go to Mayflower, so we set off to the Mayflower terminal. On the way to the Mayflower terminal, this is what happened. So here we are, sitting in a queue to go to the COVID testing site at Mayflower terminal. We were told to arrive at the city terminal, which we did initially. They turned us around and sent us to the Mayflower terminal for the COVID testing centre. And we're sat in a queue probably half a mile from the actual centre car park. I'll just turn around and let you see what we can see. Not a great deal. We're a long way to go yet. We finally arrived at the COVID testing waiting area, where we queued with hundreds of cars due to sail on Iona. We waited there for around about an hour and 3/4. With no movement whatsoever. No one was being tested. We couldn't understand why, and no information from the people or stewards there. All of a sudden, the cars started moving again, and we were approached by people asking if we were Queen Mary 2 or Iona. When we said that we were from Queen Mary 2, they suddenly took us off in a separate direction and went in a queue. Strangely enough, we appeared to be the last car in the queue. We eventually got through our COVID tests and set off back to the city terminal again. By now, it was getting quite dark. When we arrived at the city terminal, there were hardly any people there. They all had seemed to go on home already. Anyway, we were told to drop our luggage off at the luggage drop-off point up at the end of the terminal, which we duly did so, then came back. Eventually, the one gentleman that was left there checked over our car, took the photographs, and off we went inside the terminal. When we finally entered the city terminal, there were quite a number of staff there, standing around in semi-darkness, past the end of their shift and wanting to leave. So we went in and did our health checks and went through to the next stage, through security, and then had to wait for our COVID results.
So, after a 3-hour wait for COVID testing, we finally done our health check and we're now waiting for our COVID results, just to hopefully, once they come through, to check in and get on board the ship. There's Lindsey beside me and our friend Anne down the bottom. Say hi, Lindsey.
Hi, Lindsey.
Yeah, so here's hoping. It won't be long now.
Well, Anne's COVID test result came through in about 10 minutes time. 5 minutes later as Lindsey came through, but there was no sign of mine. So I went over and spoke to the person in charge in the terminal and said to her, "Is there any news on my COVID test?" So she took my number and then contacted the people, and she says, "There's no test result for you yet, you'll just have to wait." So we continued to wait. We were now the only people in the terminal, and we waited and waited and waited, and eventually I got text through saying I was all clear. We then went through check-in and went on to the ship.
Thank you. So, finally,
It will be worth it, I promise.
after 3.5 hours, we've yet to go onto the ship. I think we're your last ones, aren't we? Wow. Please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to see the rest of our Queen Mary adventure. So here we go, into the cabin. My first time. Oh yeah. This is lovely. Look at it, Lindsey. Isn't it gorgeous? Look at the beds, the sofas, everything. It's absolutely lovely.
By now it was 10 to 6 and we were due to eat at 6 o'clock, and with Cunard's fairly strict dress codes we needed to change to enable us to go into dinner. So we were very lucky in the fact that our cases had got to our cabin, so we quickly grabbed something out of the case, changed and proceeded to dinner.
So we have mushroom risotto, and Lynn has a game terrine, and Anne has something fishy. So that's your pork. I've got a beef dish, and Anne's got small fish.
After dinner we went to the Commodore Club for a well-deserved gin.
Well, we've just come back from dinner and a quick drink to find that they've done a turn down service, and look, we have sweeties, we have details of breakfast in bed and the daily programme for tomorrow. Oh my goodness, and even a really good reminder that we've got an hour less in bed tomorrow. But yeah, smashing. Time to unpack.
After that we went to the theatre where we saw the Blue Jays entertain us.
What a privilege it is to perform for the first time in this venue in such a long time. Too much of love drives a man insane. You broke my will, but what a thrill. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. I never know when the thought it was funny, but you gave me all the words to say, honey. Take my mind, there's no sign. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
before bed, just time for some supper. So this is our first evening on Queen Mary 2. Loving the ship so far. Quite interesting to find yourself around. It's confusing with the half decks, but I think we'll get to grips with that over well. Had a wonderful meal this evening, first class, very tasty the food, not necessarily exceptional size or choice, but very, very tasty. Just one little disappointment, and that is the late night supper in the King's Court. The King's Court is not like any other buffet I've ever been in. It's very stylish, very comfortable, and that's something that I think we found all over the ship so far. Every lounge you go in is a comfortable lounge to sit in. We went to the Corinthia lounge just now and listened to some music, and it was just good. It's quality. Everything is oozing quality at the moment, and it's quite different from what we're used to, but very nice.